meet all. Oh, my knees. So, we got back from the vet earlier, Miss Arvo, my little Freya cake. This little Valkyrie, seriously, she gives me a run for the money, this one. She gets her injury prone. Well, not injury prone, well, she's the tiniest out of all of them, you know, so things get her. The boys, you know, basically cause an injury this time. Frigg, he's just gotten so big. She's just having some electrolytes. So Frigg is like, whew, just picking him up. He's just gotten so strong, and you know, now compared to Fawn, Fawn looks small compared to him now. But you know, so anyway, about 2 weeks ago, or day before Australia Day, Frigg was on top of Freya, and as they do, they paddle their legs on the girl's back, side to side, and I noticed after he got off her that her wing started spasming and just dropped. I thought, oh no, what have you done, Mr. Frigg? And basically my concern was that she had a fracture. So the wing of a bird is basically like your arm. They have a shoulder joint, and it's called a shoulder joint. They've got an elbow, it's called an elbow. They have the ulna and the radius, which is the forearm, and the bones going into the feathers are the fingertips or metatarsals. And basically, you know, it could have been a fracture of any of those things, or even a dislocation or a sprain. There was definitely an abscess at one of the joints, and I wasn't sure whether it was the shoulder or the elbow, because anatomy wise, when you look at your charts, the bird's got their wings outstretched, but when they're sitting there, the wings are all folded up, you know. So it is the elbow that I was looking at. So I'm going to move this cup out the way in a sec so I can point. So the wing that's closest to us now, she has it hitched up higher than normal. So I was hoping at one, like, there didn't end up being a break and that the bone had healed in a weird way. But it could literally be her just compensating that wing. You know, when you're extra sore on a limb, you tend to hold it up higher or tighter to your body naturally, that sort of thing. So I really wanted to rule out a break. There is veterinary manuals, and you know, I've got one that takes you through the process of feeling through for breaks, because that's what we do in the olden days before we had MRIs, is we would feel through for any breaks. However, you can actually cause injury or damage in doing so. So that's the last thing I wanted to do with my unexperienced, you know, hands in this area. So I wanted to make sure. So when we went to the vet, he actually had a feel through and he couldn't find any break per se. But he did also notice the swelling of, and he confirmed it with me. Yes, it's the elbow joint. So it looks like she could have had a sprain or a micro tear of any of the muscles or tendons around the elbow. So to put it in human terms, tennis elbow, but brought on by an injury, an acute injury, or just a sudden injury, not something built over time. Mind you, who knows, it could have been built over time. You know, it could have been already stressed out, wasn't visible, and then one final time and it's like when Frigg jumped on her, you know. So maybe it's been aggravating for a while and it's just gone. So very much like tennis elbow. So the other thing too is, okay, you can strap your bird. So this is another thing that I've been going through on my veterinary manuals and natural medicine manuals, how to strap. But it's with ducks, they will take their straps off. So you need to have a really good strapping that won't come off in the water or with them tugging at it, because they will tug at it and take it off. Ducks are very proud and fastidious in their cleansingness. They shouldn't be sitting in a 3-meter run just constantly stepping on dirt and their own filth. Chickens are a little bit different. You know, chickens, if you have them in your garden, you won't have a garden for long. They'll rip up the plants to get to the root bulb. Ducks are not destructive like that. They might leave a few little holes there, here and there with their beaks, which, hey, hello, they're tilling the soil for you. Aerating the soil is like fantastic. Knock yourself out. If anything, they eat any pests that, you know, bugs that you don't want on your plants. They get to them. Including within the soil as well. So, you know, the unwanted kind. So back to, yeah, ducks are very fastidious and proud. They like to be clean. They're always preening themselves. They've got this beautiful little oil gland on their back that they will constantly go to and rub their little faces on it and then dip in the water and rub their faces on it. They're oiling their feathers when they do this to keep the waterproofing on the feathers. They enjoy and like being clean, even though they love mud. It's not because it's dirty. They're just like, you know, dirty in per sense of you stink and you're dirty. It's just clean dirt. Dirt can be clean and not foul. They like clean dirt. So they can have the, you know, appearance of a piggy because they love their mud and playing in puddles and, you know, making mud puddles with their flippers. But they, you know, again, I need to highlight, they're very clean and fastidious, proud little creatures. And it's really sad, the label they get for being dirty. Often it's people who put them in a 3-meter, you know, if that, closed off cage, and then no, these guys need to have a garden to roam around. I'll do a thing on sizing one day, because even the councils have it wrong. If you were to look at what councils recommend, it's way over the top or not enough, or they have no idea what they're talking about. They obviously have not consulted someone who even knows the animals that they're, you know, stipulating rules and regulations for, which I'm going to really bite into and dig into and expose on YouTube at one point, and hoping to get people on board, especially those of us who love our critters, but, you know, especially duck owners and those who want ducks in their lives and are prepared to do the work to keep them healthy and happy and clean, you know, because I think we need to start getting our heads together to push back a little bit, because there's a lot of bullshit that's being put out there and it needs to stop, because the domestic species of ducks, not the wild ducks, even though the wild ducks are suffering too, but especially the domestic species, some are going to become extinct if we don't do something about it. So we need to stick together on this and get the community involved. So I don't know how exactly, sort of diverting on this post a little bit, but is to put it in your, put that feather in your quill for now. It will be coming. So anyway, strapping is a bit difficult, especially with one person. But in saying that, if you don't know exactly what the injury is when you strap up your bird, you might actually cause them more damage than good. You know what I mean? So you need to know if it's a fracture, what grade of fracture if it is, and where is the fracture located. You know, you could be causing an imaginable amount of pain and discomfort and making things worse if you don't know what you're strapping and why. So what I have been doing, because the avian vet was away a little bit because we had Australia holidays, so I had to wait an extra half week. So a week and a half, 2 weeks later after making the call, or after the event it happened. So when we went in there, he had a good feel through and he ruled out breaks. He couldn't feel any fractures, basically breaks, which I was like, whew, you know, but could be wrong. You don't know, you know, could have been a minor fracture and it's healed. You know, ducks heal extremely quick. A fracture can heal within 4 weeks in a duck. It's insane. They have, and part of this is to do with their super fast metabolisms. They're just insane with their metabolic rate. That's why they heal so quickly. They generate that body heat, and they also heal that quickly. So anyway, we ruled that out, and even if there was one, he couldn't feel one at this point of time. She has trouble abducting away from the body. So adduction's when you draw your limb into the midline of your body. Abduction with a B, D is when you lift your limb away from the midline of the body. So she can't extend her wing midline. She can extend it behind her posteriori, but away from the body. She struggles and trembles a bit at the end. So that led me to think that there could have been a possible ulnar or radial fracture, so basically the forearm, exactly like ours. But there is a swelling on this side where she's got a wing hitched up higher than the other one at the elbow joint. It's a little bit more knobby. That has actually come down. It was more swollen earlier in the week, and it's just been slowly coming down. You are such a good ducky. Look at her. She's just like, what is she talking about? Me? Yeah, I'm talking about you, my little ginger. There's not many ginger ducks around. No, you're a rarity. Yeah. Us gingers must stick together. So anyway, it was quite funny. The vet was trying to pick her up, as people do around both wings, and she was fussing and moving about, and I'm like, oh, hang on, no. He's like, oh, he motioned me to pick her up, and basically I just hold my hand out so she could step on my hand. And I lift her up like an elevator. So I've trained my ducks to actually step onto my hands. I didn't think about it at the time when I went to the vet, when I was there. I don't know what it is about when you get stressed or worried, how normal cognitive function tends to sort of dissipate a little bit more. I do suffer a little bit from anxiety being around people and outside of the home, just because of everything I've been through. And I process, and I probably still need to do some more processing. So that doesn't help. So I wasn't really thinking. I was like, oh shit. Afterwards, when I was on my way back, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should have asked the vet to hold his hand out on the table and to just ask her to walk onto his hand, because she might have done it. She understands. They understand when you ask them to do something, especially if you use things like your eyes and gesture. Just like with dogs, is no different. They're quite intelligent. Hello, baby. Look at her feet. Is that curled up and floating behind her? So I was hoping after today getting the all clear from the vet that I would, then be able to bring her back out with the boys. But no, she's still healing. The vet didn't strap her wing up, so he obviously didn't think we needed to strap up the wing. There's another thing too, I guess, to bring up is sometimes your animals know best with what they need to do to heal, holding their wing in a certain position. And I also need to highlight that they are constantly preening. If you have their wing or anything strapped up, ducks especially, is it worth them not being able to preen? Is that going to cause more issues? Like if she had a break, there's no question she would have had to have been strapped up solid. And if the wings if the feathers get issues later, then we deal with that. But most important thing is to immobilize so there can be healing. But when it comes to something like a tendon or muscle or joint or the bursa sac, whatever, it's sometimes it's best to just let them do like what she's doing now. She's got her wing hitched up. When she's lying in her bed, in the sawdust bed in the office, she's got her wing relaxed. So, she's obviously changing it around to whatever she's doing, what's comfortable. So it's good to have that. And this is where, being able to, making an effort to observe your pets in their natural environment, what they usually do, and then when you see them doing things slightly out of character or how they're dealing with a injury or any sort of trauma, it just helps with your understanding, and then being able to let them do what they need to do. Sometimes nature knows best. But that said, we did walk around with anti-inflammatories. So he basically said for the next 2 weeks she's got to take an anti-inflammatory every day, which he gave me the option of tablet or serum. The serum almost never goes down. I had the same anti-inflammatory given to me for Sigrid. Remember, she cracked her beak eating a rock. Don't worry, she's back to eating rocks again. She's crazy, that one. She's got a nickname of the rock eater. Look at her flippers. I love their feet. They're just so cool. And they have the cutest feet. They're like little dinosaur feet. They're just so, dinosaurish compared to their bodies. The same with swans. They're epic. The feet of a swan. This is insane. I digress. So anyway, a tablet a day. So I'm literally going to have to force a tablet down onto her tongue, which there's a reflex involved. So if you push the tablet onto the tongue, the back of the tongue, she just showed her tongue there. She's doing a yawn. Then the reflex makes them swallow the tablet. Of course, you don't want to gag your duck. You know what I mean? So it's only a gentle push of the tablet onto the tongue, and then they will naturally, in response, swallow it, whether they want to or not. That is to get that beak open and then get that tablet down that back of that tongue there. Whew. So I asked the vet to do one for me. He's like, I could just, hear it in his head. I'm like, what's worse, giving a tablet to a duck or a cat? No comment. Great. So every day we're going to have this battle in the morning of giving a tablet. He's written down half a tablet 2 times a day, but I think he's just being nice, saying, I'll just give the whole tablet once a day. So less stress on me and Freya. So I'm going to basically have to straddle her. So my plan of attack in giving her medication in the mornings is going to be have a towel on the ground, place her on the towel, and then straddle her with my knees on either side of her wing, and to prop up her crop with my left hand, with the tablet in hand in my right, and then the battle. And she's feisty. My gosh, you should have seen her at the vet. She's a little warrior. She's the smallest out of all my dogs, but my goodness, she was nipping at my bracelets. She was nipping at my watch. Not like trying to bite and hurt. She was just grabbing at anything that she could. And then she was even grabbing the vet's watch, She was determined that he wasn't going to feel through her wing. She's probably like, what's with these blokes injuring my wings? She wasn't impressed. But anyway, so that is our drama today. She's now floating and chilling and kind of making me feel chilled out watching her in a lukewarm bath, or slightly warmer than lukewarm, with dried peppermint. If you've never smelt a duck before, when they're clean, they actually smell like cucumbers. I kid you not. And the babies, when they're little tiny ducklings, the cucumber smell is even stronger. So you know how you have babies, they have that really beautiful, smell. The ducks have the same smell. So when you have them bathing in mint or peppermint, they literally smell like minty cucumbers when they come out. So we're running a bit late today. I was a bit sore physically when I got back. But anyway, that's the dramas with Freya, her wing. My gosh, in the past 12 months, she's pierced her cheek, nearly died. She pierced her cheek with wiring from the chicken wire. in her excavation, she managed to find a wire and pierce her cheek. Nearly died. Now this wing. And then she also went through the battle of losing so many feathers from the boys because they were just paying attention to her. And then when, she was there weren't enough girls. And then when we did get more girls, still not, they were paying too much attention to her. Fawn was being too rough. Fawn is so much more mellow now. I've trained him to be a little bit more aware. He's so much aware. But now Frigg is not as aware. I sort of let the reins loose on him and he's become a little monster. So Frigg needs some deportment and manners to be trained on him now. So anyway, that's it from me and Freya. And if you're wondering what breed she is, she's actually half Rouen and half Peking. She's the sister to the two boys who are also half Rouen, half Peking. As a little tiny duckling, she almost looked exactly like her brother Fawn, who has the green head, but he's now going through an eclipse. So his head is all salt and pepper. You can't see much green. So the boys tend to molt and go through a feather regeneration over autumn and winter, and we're in autumn now. So come spring, they have a nice showy look at me feathers again. And with the boys, when the drakes go through their molt, it's called an eclipse, like the moon eclipsing. It's kind of cute, isn't it? So she's half Rouen, half Peking. You've obviously seen Pekings, and you've seen my ducks Sunna and Leuka, who are Pekings. When you look at my big boy Frigg, who is all white, he definitely looks more Peking than Rouen, but he's not a pure Peking, and it shows if you were to compare him to another pure Peking male. There's an extra size to him because he is half Rouen. So Rouens are a lot bigger than a Peking. They're a lot more barrel-chested. Their keels are a lot more fuller. They've got rounder faces, stockier necks, and they're a lot stronger. So, so Freya here, she has the markings of a Rouen across her body and chest, except for the face, which is ginger. But she doesn't have the solid, heavy roundness, almost belly to the ground sort of build, and almost like a Staffordshire face the Rouens have. And Sigrid, who's all tortoiseshell with a round face, she's a pure Rouen. So anyway, that's what the breed is. They're across. But my gosh, you're making me chill out now, Freya. Anyone listening to this is probably starting to zone off and fall asleep too. What is it? You're working your little ducky magic on everybody, hey? You're working your little ducky magic on everybody. Should I go get you a sister to come into the bath with you while I clean out your bed? Yeah, I'll go do that. All right, folks, I need to get off my ass, and I want nothing more than to just turn in for the night and pull the doona over my head and go to sleep. But I got shit to do. I got beds to clean for the ducks. I got some scraps to give to the chooks. I've got this one then to put into the fresh bed, and then I've got to get the other ducks in for the night so they can have their bath before going to bed in the office as well. So anyway, blessed be Mary Part. That is the lowdown on the possible fracture turned possibly both sides, turned to most case in point scenario being just a sprain or a micro tear of a ligament or muscle around the joint, either stabilizer or prime mover or inferior or inferior. So I'm not quite sure, but without doing imaging, but there's no point of stressing your animal that much. Regardless, you're going to have to do the same thing for all of that. And if it was a fracture, well, she would have been splintered up. So I hope that helps a little bit, sort of expands a little bit of a knowledge and situation around this. So if you've got pet ducks and, you want to be a bit more forewarned if something happens to them like this, or you've been through it in the past and you don't know if things have been normal, and I hope this sort of normalizes some things that are normal in your head for you. Nothing worse than not knowing. I think it's a not knowing as a pet owner whether, you know, something is normal for a situation. I mean, injuries are normal, I know what you mean, but whether, you know, it's a normal process, a bit like stages of grief, you know, when you know what the stages are, when you go through it, you're like, oh, okay, we're here now. You sort of can map and plot where you're at. So it's the same thing with your critters. Anyway, blessed be Mary Part, and I've discovered I've just got a mosquito bite on my shins. You little freaking blood-sucking bastards. You know, I got a mosquito, yeah, big doozy, I don't know where and how he got there. Bit me through my tights, the little bastard. I got a mosquito bite on the sole of my foot. I mean, how rude is that? What the blazes? I'm going to say goodbye, Freya Cake. I'm going to say goodnight. Look at your feet. Woo! Beep, 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 beep. Oh, this is nice. This is so nice. This is so nice. Yeah. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 pop. Ooh. 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 Diggy, diggy, doo, 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 doo. Diggy, diggy, doo, doo, doo. Pop, pop, pop. Ooh. Pop. What you doing? Alright guys, you don't have to put up with my retardation now. Good night, blessed be, and Mary Part.